You have 3 voicemails.
In this podcast, we're gonna talk about, Kien, how you are not romantically attracted to females.
She actually tried to look at how gay people have intercourse.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was a very painful experience actually. This company, this prestigious law firm has overworked you to the point that now you're attracted to men.
Hello there.
Welcome to the show where we have the convos about Vietnam, you know.
Hello there and welcome to Convo Comrades, a conversation with the community about Vietnam. We've got an amazing golden guest today in our golden guest segment. His name is Kien and he'll be sharing with us some pretty heavy topics, but also very educational as well, especially for myself and for Long. Kien, why don't you introduce yourself? Actually, you know what, Long, why don't you introduce Kien?
Exactly. Let me introduce Kien, guys. So, Kien, you are currently a banking and finance legal practitioner at one of the most prestigious and largest law firm in the world, per your LinkedIn profile.
You might want to say the name of the law firm now.
Oh, do we have to say the name of the law firm?
Oh, do you want to hide it?
I don't want to be like, it's the most prestigious law firm in the world, and then people find out what it is, and people are like, no, it's not.
All right, fine. We'll not say it's Baker McKenzie. It's fine.
No, it's not Baker McKenzie.
Okay.
Anyway, we all know Kien since forever, you know, since...
Not really.
Not really.
No, the 6 years is forever for me.
Yeah, can you tell us what we're talking about today?
All right. So, Kien.
Yes.
And listeners, in this podcast, we're going to talk about the fact that, Kien, how you are not romantically attracted to females.
Okay, Long, I'm going to jump in now. Oh my God, that was painful. That was like one of those Harry Potter spells. That was excruciatingly agonizing. All right.
Okay.
So before this podcast, what happened was we had a around 15 to 30 minute catch up with Kien last week, where we talked about the different topics that we wanted to go through in this podcast. And one of the topics that we wanted to cover was the topic of LGBT. And when Long was teeing up, so he had this bloody master plan, okay, tactical master genius. He was gonna list out all the topics that is non-LGBT related, and then at the end he's gonna ask Kien whether he wanted to talk about LGBT. And when he was about to bring up the final topic, it took him, I don't know, the length of a Lord of the Rings movie in terms of pausing to tell our guest, so... And then Lord of the Rings movie plays, and then we're going to talk about something that we haven't talked about in real life. And then another Lord of the Rings movie, and then what did he say exactly? I don't even remember. It wasn't even a direct suggestion.
Let me say it in my version of memory. Okay.
All right, go on then.
So wait, I have to admit that I was nervous. Okay, because I've never talked about this.
I didn't notice at all.
I've never talked about this with Kien, and it's a sensitive topic in my head because I've known Kien as a friend, and that's it. I don't see anything else. I don't I don't consider anything else. I treat him as a close friend, and this is a sensitive topic, and I'm afraid. After that meeting, I sat down and I asked myself, what am I feeling?
Like my mom, she went on Google for like a month to find out about gay people, and she actually tried to look at how gay people have intercourse.
Oh no!
Yeah, it was a very painful experience actually, and then she told me all about that. She's like, I went on Google and I looked it up, and then it's not as natural as I thought it was going to be, but it's a bit unnatural because I looked at how they have intercourse and it's strange. I'm like, Mom, why are you looking at?
All right, this is going to be an amazing topic, amazing conversation. We're definitely going to ask more questions later on. Yeah, sorry, Long, you were saying?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I dug deep into my feelings, and then I found out. First of all, can I call you gay, Kien?
Okay, I think normally what you would say is, how do you identify yourself, Kien? You don't.
What's
I
your
don't think
sexual
you.
orientation? Something like that. That's the most
I
formal way
don't
of
think you
asking.
dug deep enough.
Can I call you gay? No, you call me Kien.
Yeah. No. And first of all, right, LGBT is out there. It's popular. It's not a new thing. So I'm totally fine with it. But to talk about it and to use the right words, right? I know sometimes the word gay can be seen as a negative, or because I hear in normal day-to-day conversations, people are saying, "Oh, you're so gay. This is so gay." So I feel it's a little bit of a negative word to it. So when I talked to you, Kien, I legit had a feeling. You know that feeling when you were about to confess to a crush? Like
Oh.
you're gonna say your
What? I did
feelings.
not expect that.
That took you long enough.
So it's like I want to say it, but then my body held back. I couldn't speak out. When I reached that topic, I couldn't open my mouth.
Yeah, which is strange.
And that's when the opening scene of The Lord of the Rings starts.
But it's very strange though, because I think I've been very open about it since I came out. I haven't officially come out yet. I think it's just quite, the fact that I'm gay is quite painfully obvious. I don't think there's ever a need for me to come out. But from my perspective now, I always feel like it's a very obvious thing, and I don't feel like I have to talk to anybody about it, right? I assume everybody knew. I assume everybody's comfortable about it enough to be friends with me. So if we are close, like we are now, then I kind of assume that, oh yeah, he knows I'm gay. He's comfortable with the fact that I'm gay, etc., etc. I don't feel like there's a need to talk about it or to explain to you, this is how it feels like to be gay. This is how you should be around a gay person. Things like that.
Yeah.
Not until 2 weeks ago, actually, when we had the preparation call, the preparation discussion, and then I found out how, let's say, uncomfortable you are with the topic. Then I realized, actually, yeah, you can be friends with a gay person and then still find the topic uncomfortable.
Yes, that's.
So yeah, it's quite interesting, actually.
I'm so happy you said that, because I thought you were going to say, you realize that you don't want to be on this podcast anymore.
No, I realized as soon as I saw you trying to leave for your date.
Okay, sorry, Long, you were saying.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I don't see gender. Let's put it that way. When I hang out with people, I consider them as friends, and I interact with them, just how I would with a close friend. So when we sit down and officially talk about the gender, then I felt a little bit, what if Kien had a bad experience? I don't want to revive that. I don't want to make him remember those bad experiences, because in my head, and after this podcast, this may change, but in my head, LGBT is, although popular mainly by TV and movies, I feel there's still some sort of negativity around it, and especially so in the West. I could see people homophobic. So I would imagine the case is even stronger in Vietnam, right? So I don't want to ruin our good memories by saying the wrong words, So I was very careful in choosing the words in my head. That's why I was like, what should I say?
Okay, you're not saying, can I call you gay?
Well, I'm pretty sure you didn't spend a lot of time to prepare that explanation long before this podcast. Okay, so I think you touched on a very interesting point there, because you used the word gender. And I want to use the first maybe 5 or 10 minutes or so to go through the concepts, just so that we're all on the same page and we're level setting our understanding here. Because I did some research. Wow, normally I don't do research.
You go.
Yeah. So you can tell me whether my understanding is correct, okay? But to me, in this topic, there are really 4 different dimensions altogether, and they're not really easily in comparison. Number one thing is your gender identity, right? And this is, whether you feel like you're a boy or a girl.
That's right.
And this really is your perspective, whether you feel like you're a man or a woman. The second thing is your biological sex. And this is whether you're male or female. But then you can have a different gender identity to your biological sex. So biologically, you might be a male, but you might feel in your head that you're more of a woman. Okay, so that's the second dimension. The third dimension is your sexual orientation. So despite your biological sex and your gender, you might have sexual attraction to, certain people of different backgrounds, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to coincide. So it doesn't necessarily mean that, if you're biologically a male, you look like a man, you don't necessarily need to be attracted to a female.
That's right.
Or someone who looks like a woman. That's the third dimension. So sexual orientation here is more of your heart, who you want to be in bed with, who you want to have romantic feelings with, right?
That's right.
And then the fourth dimension is your gender expression. Now, this is somewhat of an extension of your gender identity. So gender expression here is how you want to dress up as, how you want to look. So all of these things are sliding scales. And, yesterday, while I was just chilling, editing videos and doing crazy transitions for my travel videos, I realized, holy crap, I have a very heavy topic tomorrow. I'm not prepared. So I went to a very reliable source that I have, which is YouTube. Started watching a ton of YouTube videos. And it seems like it's a very complex problem, but I think I can distill it down to these 4 dimensions. And how someone feels is a sliding scale across these 4. So treat it like, some sort of photo app. You can move your slider, right? Left to right, left to right, left to right.
That's right.
And then some people even feel that it's not binary, in the sense that it's not, on one hand this and on the other hand that. It's like something different altogether, which is even more complex as well. So that's my understanding so far.
Yeah, I think you have a better understanding of it than I do, actually.
Hey! Okay, sorry.
Hey, well done. But yeah, and then I just want to add all of these 4 dimensions and where you are on the scale. Well, I believe it's not fixed. So it's not supposed to be today you identify yourself as male and then you have to go, on the rest of your life identifying as a male. I've met some, people who identify as male, and after a while they identify themselves as female, and then after a while they identify themselves as male again, and it's completely fine.
Yeah.
And it's the same as, sexual orientation. So you can be attracted to men today, and then a few days later you are attracted to female. I think it's absolutely fine. Again, it doesn't have to be fixed. It doesn't have to, you don't have to have one setting and then go on with the rest of your life with that setting.
Yeah. And I think the technical term for that is gender fluid.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that is something I'm learning today, guys. It's very new to me.
Yes, we realize that.
LGBT, it was new, but it's not new today. LGBT, I knew it for quite some time, but gender fluid is something actually quite new.
Yeah, and the reason why I brought that up is because you said just now, you specifically used the word gender, but for Kien's case, I'm not entirely sure how you would identify yourself on the gender spectrum, but we were talking about gay, so I think that would be more on the sexual orientation spectrum.
That's right. That's right. So I identify myself as male, and then since I'm attracted to other males, so I identify. So my sexual orientation is gay. That's how it works.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. So I don't see that. That's what I meant when I say I don't see gender. I don't pay attention to that. We hang out as friends, and I appreciate that.
Okay, so shall we move on then? So you mentioned just now about your family and how they reacted, but let's take a step back. If you don't mind sharing, when did you realize, your sexual orientation?
I think that the first time I realized I was gay, it was sometime back in 9th grade. I think I had a crush on this guy. It wasn't you. It was a different guy.
That's a shame.
Yeah, but I think that's the first time I realized I was gay. But my whole journey was actually lucky. I didn't have any of those, crises, any of those moments where I was like, oh, I think I'm attracted to a guy. It's not normal. It's strange. Like those kind of things that you see happen to a lot of people, right? It happened to me quite naturally. I think just one day I realized, I think I'm attracted to this guy. So I went, I did some research and said, oh, that's gay. Oh, maybe I'm gay.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I went on identifying myself as gay, and then realized I have identified myself as men, and then I know that I'm attracted to men, sexually and romantically. That's how I knew that I'm gay. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. what facilitated that? Because you said that, you didn't go through all the crisis that some other people went through. What helped with that process?
I don't think there's any one thing in particular that helped with that process. I just had a lot of friends who are very welcoming and very natural and supportive with that as well. So I didn't have any friends who were like, "Oh, you're gay? That's so strange." I had friends who were like, "Oh yeah, yay, you like him? Yeah, yay, let's do this and that." Things that you usually just do when a friend tells you that they have a crush on, another guy or girl.
Yeah. Here's a hypothesis. Does, I don't know, pop culture play a role? Because, your friends and you are used to consuming content maybe from the West, and therefore it eases you into this concept?
I don't think so. I think back when I was in ninth grade, I don't think that I was that immersed in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike today, I don't think YouTube or the internet or TikTok was even there back then, or Facebook was even there back then. Pop culture was, for me at least, was all boiled down to MTV and Western movies.
Yeah.
So I don't think back then there was that many movies on TV that had LGBTQI plus content, or had representation for gays and lesbians and LGBTQI community. So I don't think movies help with that.
Do you know why I asked that?
Why?
It's because we're currently rewatching Friends, and the first episode, Ross's wife is a lesbian, right? That's why they broke up.
Oh yeah.
And Friends was huge back then, so I was wondering whether these sort of TV series had an impact. Otherwise, you were very relatively fortunate to have friends like that who are very welcoming and accepting.
I think that's why I said I've been lucky because, not only back then when I first realized I was gay, like up until now, I've been quite fortunate actually to find myself surrounded by people who, at least in my face, are fine with it and are supportive of, who I am. The whole thing to me just seemed like a natural thing. I've never felt like, oh, this is such a strange thing that I feel the need to even hide it. Well, depends on the context actually. But yeah, I don't feel the need to conceal it. I don't feel the need to, pretend that I'm straight or something like that.
So that's very fortunate, I think. From my childhood, right, all my friends, I would say they're all homophobic.
Really?
So it changed, I don't know, it affected my upbringing a little bit as well. So all of them were, first of all, I would like to say I think you are the only gay friend I have, Kien. So I don't have anyone else. And just, when I was a child, people were just, all the boys especially, they were very homophobic. And when you were small, right, you didn't know how to think and what to think and how to feel. But all the time you hear those comments and it's very negative. But I use pop culture. So pop culture was, like you said here, was the main factor that educated me to filter out those comments. But imagine if a normal person grow up with all these comments, maybe through time, it becomes their own thinking too, I think it's very bad, but let's change all that.
Yeah, that's why I think education and awareness is very important, when it comes to raising awareness for the LGBTQI community and to help, combat homophobia, right? Because I don't think anybody is born homophobic. It's a learned process. You are taught to be homophobic either by, that's how your family is taught, that's how your family teaches you, that's how society teaches you, that's how the media or the culture that you are exposed to teaches you. But I don't think that anybody is born with the thought that, being homosexual or being gay, being lesbian, being transsexual, it's a bad thing. It's all taught. So
yeah.
The most important thing, in my opinion, to combat homophobia is to raise awareness and to educate people on what is being gay, what is being lesbian, what is being transgender, and why it's not a bad thing.
Okay, we can touch more deeply into the topic of education later in the podcast, but let's go back to you, Kien. So you knew since grade 9 that you had a crush on someone who was not me. Very sad. Okay. And what happened afterwards then? Did you share it with anyone? I mean, you mentioned a number of your friends. Was your family involved in the conversation as well?
No, I don't think my family is ever been involved in a conversation on this topic until I came back to Vietnam from the UK. I've always thought of my family as being progressive in a lot of topics and matters, but homosexuality is not one of them.
Yeah.
I think the reason why they are conservative, it's not because they are homophobic. It comes from the cultural and societal values that are very deeply engraved within how they perceive society and how they perceive a Vietnamese person, and in particular a Vietnamese man or a Vietnamese son should act, and the responsibility and the function of such man or son.
Wow, you need to use commas, to be honest, in your sentence.
Legal lawyer, lawyer.
How can you use commas in a speaking sentence?
Okay, sorry, you were saying.
I was saying, particularly with homosexuality, my parents were not progressive, or are not as progressive that I wanted them to be.
Yeah.
Officially, I have never really officially came out to them until I've come back from the UK.
What triggered the conversation?
With my mom, I think it was very natural. I think we were on vacation one day, and then it was me and my mom were walking back from where we were having dinner, and we were walking back to our room. And we just have a talk. Me and my mom, we are quite close, actually. We talk about a lot of things, a lot of different things. So naturally, the topic came up, and I think my mom asked, she didn't ask outright, "Are you gay? Can I call you gay?" But she...
Long, listen up.
Yeah, but she was more like, so yeah, like why is it that I've never seen or never heard of you talking about any girlfriends, things like that.
That's very tactful, isn't it? As a
but it was quite obvious, right?
A solid Vietnamese kind of way of asking.
Yeah, and then I'm like, I don't know. And then she's like, "Have you ever been attracted to any girls?" I'm like, I don't think so. And she's like, "Are you attracted to men?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think so." She's like, "Oh, really?" And I think we spent the next
Wait, really? Did she grasp? Did she really go?
Yeah. Do your mums not go every time? Like you tell them something shocking?
On the beach.
On the beach, yes.
Okay.
It was like 10 p.m. and then we spent the next 2 hours talking about things in life. And then I think at the end, I think what she said was, being gay in the Vietnamese society right now, in particular, and in general, it's not an easy thing. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of things you have to go through, a lot of difficulties. So that's a life that she doesn't want me to have. Not because she doesn't want me to be gay, but she doesn't want me to have to go through what a gay person would have to go through.
Yeah.
She doesn't want me to be gay, and I don't think any parents would be like, "I want my child to be gay," or what she said was, "I don't want you to be gay, and if it could be helped, then I wish I could turn you into a straight person. But at the end of the day, you're my child, you're my son, I love you, and it doesn't matter who you love, whether you're gay or straight, I still love you the same." And I think I'm very grateful to her for that comment. It helped a lot with how I deal with the issue as well, because I know I have my mom who loves me. Doesn't matter if I was gay or straight, or doesn't matter who I am. So I think I was very lucky. My dad is not as accepting, unfortunately. I think still to this day, I've never really officially come out to him. It's a very complicated matter, so I don't think I should be getting into details, but I will just give you some brief overview of the situation with my dad. Ever since he's retired, he's been on Facebook a lot, and by a lot I mean a lot. Like he spent the entire day on Facebook, like ordering stuff online and sharing music videos and watching these random clips online. And I think apparently, because I'm never there to like look at him being on Facebook or watch him being on Facebook, but I think that's what my sister said. I don't remember if my sister or my mom, but he goes onto my profile a lot to screen for girls who may be a romantic interest. And then I think he just randomly realized that, this guy, my son, is not interested in girls, but I think he has a boyfriend, and it's my current boyfriend. I think that's how he found out. to Facebook, because I'm not, I don't really try to go out of my way to hide the fact that I'm gay, or the fact that I have a boyfriend, or the identity of my boyfriend on Facebook. I don't flaunt it. I don't put it everywhere. I don't set relationship status. I don't, post kissy or hand holding photos. But I have a lot of photos, traveling photos with my boyfriend. And I think once in a while I post about gay things quite openly on Facebook. So I think, in a sense, I'm quite surprised that it took him that long to realize, all that. Because I think ever since I've been with my boyfriends for 3.5 years now, and we've traveled a lot. And every time we travel, I post photos online. We went to Japan. I had photos on Facebook. We went to America when we went to visit his family, and we had photos.
Well, he might have thought it'd be like a photo with a tour guide or something.
No, I said, I'm going with my colleague, because my boyfriend is my colleague actually. But I'm like, I'm going with this colleague. And I actually told, the first time my boyfriend came to visit me in Hanoi, I took him to see my family, my parents and my grandparents.
Oh, did you? But then you introduced him as your friend?
Yeah, just as a colleague. Because he's my colleague. I said, this is my colleague from Saigon. So I think that's why, there has been no suspicion of him as the boyfriend, because every time my parents see him, they think of him as a colleague. So his existence in my life is logically explained. So there has been no suspicion. But then I think after a while, my parents are not stupid, so they have to come to the conclusion of the fact that this doesn't look like two normal heterosexual colleagues hang out together, traveling the world. We literally travel Asia, America, and Europe together. So I think at the end of 3 years, my dad came to realize that, hold on a second, this is not a heterosexual colleague. He had
an epiphany.
Unfortunately, he has not been that accepting of the fact. He thinks that it's just a phase I'm going on in my life, and it's something that can be fixed. He used the word fixed, but we talk about this, right? We say, sexuality doesn't have to be a set scale for you. You don't have to be set in a certain value on that scale of sexuality or the sexuality spectrum, right? So I think my dad took the same view, but up in kind of an opposing stance, where he said, so now you're gay, but it's maybe because it's a phase. You are overworked, and
What?
Yeah, that's what he said. You're overworked, and you're tired.
Is he a doctor? Does he have a PhD?
No, he's an engineer. He's an electrical engineer, and then he's
how is he able to resolve the problem so quickly?
I know. He's like, you are overworked. This company, this prestigious law firm, has overworked you to the point that now you're attracted to men. Given time, you have to go out and see girls and try to fight it and try to essentially will yourself straight. I mean, in a sense, he and I believe in the same thing, right? We both believe that sexuality, it can change. But he believes in you can change it by yourself at your own will. You can will yourself to be attracted to male or females sexually or romantically. While I believe that it's a natural feeling. It comes to you naturally. It doesn't matter how you try. You have to really feel it. It has to come to you naturally. So I think that's where we disagree. Unfortunately, we have not been able to find an agreement on that, but I think we're working on it. In a sense, so he took it much, way better than we expected, than me and my mom and my sister expected, because he's a very conservative and traditional man when it comes to these issues. I'm sure you guys know this as well. The traditional Vietnamese role, like gender role, the man has to be that guy, has to have a wife, has to all that to be considered as society as a successful and normal man. So you
got to carry your family name. And
things like that. So I told him, if it's a kid that he wants, then it's not an issue, because there's a lot of way I can get him a grandchild.
Yeah, ta-da!
Right?
Yeah, here you go.
Do you want one? Actually, yeah. Fun fact: it's been like 3 years. I think he's been telling me to like just go out and hook up with a girl randomly just to get a grandchild, because he doesn't care about the fact that I think essentially he doesn't care about the fact that I'm gay. He just cares about the fact that he wants a grandchild to carry on the blood, the family name. That's the foundation. That's the core issue. But there's a side issue where in his mind it's very deeply engraved, all of that traditional gender role and society expectation and things like that. So this is where my dad and my mom has the same view on. They all see that one male, one female, one husband, one wife family as the traditional and standard family that everybody should have.
Yeah.
But in my mom's case, she sees it as, if you don't have that, life is going to be difficult for you. So you should try to have that. But if you don't have that, then I feel bad for you. But it's fine. You just carry on. I'll be here supporting you. But for my dad, it's like that's the standard. You have to get that standard. Otherwise, you are not a failure, but otherwise you are shunned by society. You are not normal in society, and I said normal with an air quote. So I think that's the issue with my dad. So me and my mom. So I came out to my mom a very long time ago, and I came out to my sister. I actually don't think I've ever came out to my sister. She just kind of knew. She's smart, and then she's on Facebook all the time, so she knew about me and my boyfriend.
Okay.
Then she just asked me very casually about it, like, "Oh, so how are you and the boyfriend?" And then I said, "Oh, we're fine," and things like that. And once in a while we talk about it. But I never went to her and be like, "Hey, I'm gay," and things like that. So my sister is totally supportive. But so me and my sister, my mom, when we talk about it, we are very worried about what would my dad do if and when he finds out. And we actually envision all these worst case scenario, family breaking up, him disowning me, and all these like screaming matches and things like that. But none of that happened. So he took it much better than we expected. So I have to give him credit for that. But again, different views, which cannot be changed quite easily. He's at that age now where you can't really change his view on things quite easily. So I think it takes time. We'll try. We'll see.
That's interesting. The story between you and your mum is relatively vivid, but how did that conversation come about with your dad? And the reason why I'm asking is because we might potentially have some young listeners who are in the same boat, and they want to know how they should approach the conversation with their parents.
Okay. So I don't think I've ever had a proper conversation with my dad about this, and I think it's an unfortunate thing. But the opportunity never come really to actually sit down and have a talk about this. And to be quite honest with you, I don't think at this moment having a conversation with my dad about this would be a very productive thing, because I don't think at this point I'll be able to change his view on these topics, or to get him to be comfortable enough with this. For all the young listeners out there who are having the same issue, then I think a piece of advice would be, don't feel pressured to have this talk with your parents or your friends or whoever it is before you feel like you're ready. It's difficult to say, what is ready? How do you know you're ready, right? You have to be, there's a lot of aspects to being ready, at the surface, you have to be emotionally ready. You have to be emotionally stable, for the lack of a better word, to come to your parents or your friends or your loved ones and your whoever it is to have a talk about this without letting emotions overwhelm you. You have to be able to keep an open mind and to accept the fact that people are entitled to their own views about these things, right? I think people are, even if they don't accept homosexuality, to an extent they are entitled to that view, and it's not our place to say you have to accept us. You have to be emotionally ready for that event where you realize that this conversation is going nowhere. It's just two different views and you can't agree to disagree, so you have to be ready for that. And then after that, though, you have to be ready to deal with what comes afterwards, right? It's great, and it's I was lucky to have supportive family and friends, right? what if you don't? What if you don't have supportive family and friends? And then what's after? Do you have a plan to deal with all that after you had the talk?
Yeah.
So again, you have to feel like you're ready. You all have at least a very basic plan to deal with all these scenarios or the possible outcomes out of having that talk. And don't feel pressure to have that talk, because I've never really had. But I can't really take my story and use that as a to preach to people and tell people that, oh, you have to follow that, right? Because I think I'm one of the lucky few, because I never had to have that talk, except with my mom. Yeah, except my mom. I never had to have that, oh, let's sit down and talk about my sexuality talk with anybody, because I think this came naturally. But don't feel pressure to have that talk. Just let it naturally happen if you can. And then if you feel like you have to have that talk, then make sure that you are ready and well prepared for the talk and all the possible outcomes that may happen afterwards.
So you're saying depends on your family and your friends. You may not need to have that talk at all, right? Yeah, if it's worse than having the talk.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, of course, I can't speak for other people why they may think that they need to have the talk, even if the worst may come afterwards, right? Some people may have, a legitimate reason why they want to have the talk, right? They don't want to go around their loved ones, always having to live around their loved one with that big secret about one of the most important things about themselves as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's one of the reasons why that they feel like they need to have the talk, even if they know that the worst may come. So it's not my place to say, oh, don't talk about it at all, even if you think that the worst is going to happen. But if you have a reason why that you think that you need to have the talk, then have it, but be very well prepared for the talk itself and what comes after. I think that's the important part.
Just make sure that you're prepared for all sorts of scenarios.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was listening to how you're going to approach your father, I was very nervous as well. Right? I was nervous for you. If I was in that position, right? I was, because my parents are divorced. I live with my mom mostly, and she is traditional, right? So I couldn't imagine if I also have a traditional dad as well. So some things I tell my mom, she immediately turned down because it's not acceptable to her values as a traditional. But people people.
I'm so sorry. You can't just say that and not give an example. Like what?
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, what did you tell her? I didn't. Why am I finding about this now?
Come on, then.
Okay, so for example, I told my mom I don't want to have kids. So, okay, mom, raising a kid is hard. I have to pay for the tuition for them to go to the UK. I don't want to do that.
But thanks for doing that for me, though.
So then she was like, no, you need to have kids now. 30 years old is the absolute max for her. Every time we have a call and she's been, just have kids long. You don't need to be married. Just have kids. Just talk to Lan. You can have kids now. So for example, that, and also career. When I told my mom I want to be an actor and not an accounting professional, she just turned it down. She just zoned out. Said, "Huh, Lan? What were you saying? Oh, where are you going later today?" So things like that, I couldn't imagine what other things she might have turned down if I told her. What I'm saying is I understand the situation you're in.
Yeah.
Right. Even though my problems are not as.
I think everybody's. It's you can't say whose problems are as serious or severe. Or more serious and severe than the other person's problem, right? Because for me, it's, at the end of the day, it boils down to how to get our parents to accept how we want to live our life, right? How do I get my dad to accept that, oh, I'm in love with my boyfriend and I want to spend the rest of my life with him, and with you, how to convince your mom that you don't want to have kids. So at least for now, you don't want to have kids. You want to be an accountant. You want to be an actor, right? That's essentially it boils down to that same thing.
Question: is it more of asking for acceptance or asking for acknowledgement? Do you need them to accept?
I think it's different for me and Long. I'm not sure though. For me though, it's about how should I put this? It's about ensuring the harmony of the family. I don't think I've ever thought about this seriously enough. I never really seriously think about what I would do when, say in 10 years time, my dad still, is still like, no, get a wife. Or, when I say, oh, I'm marrying my boyfriend. And he'd be like, no, I honestly have never thought about that, because I think it's part of my hopeful thinking or wishful thinking that I would never, have to come to that. In my situation, it has more to do with the fact that I want to, at the end of the day, I want my family to agree on an issue that's quite important to me. And because I don't want to go on living my life without my dad. He's a very important part of my life as well. I don't want to have to go on, get married, have a child, and have that child grow up without knowing who my dad is, because I think he'd be a great grandparent.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's not about getting him to accept that. He's more of a give blessing kind of way, right? If I have his blessing, then I can go on and do it.
Yeah.
I can just go on and do it. But if I don't have this blessing, then I think I just want to make sure that I try I try to get it. But if I don't, then ultimately I still think that there is still a possibility for me to do what I want to do, right? Without having that from my dad. It's not a approval kind of thing where the absence of it would mean that I would not be able to do what I want to do. But I want that so that we don't have to go to that, worst case scenario where, me and my parents don't talk, me and my dad don't talk, all the things. I think that's that.
Yeah.
Harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you said, harmony, sounds reasonable. Not sounds reasonable. Sounds correct.
That's reasonable, Kien, to want to achieve harmony.
Yeah.
That's reasonable. Okay, next question. So you're very fortunate, it seems, to have the sort of conversations that you have, although, the conversation or the interaction or communication with your father isn't as straightforward, but it's still relatively positive, relative to other people. Have you encountered any negative conversations then revolving around this topic?
I don't think, again, that's why I keep saying that I'm a very fortunate gay man. I don't think I've never been, maybe I'm just oblivious to the fact that people are homophobic. Because you guys know me, right? I'm a very...
Long, can you introduce your friends to Kien and see how he reacts?
Because I go on in life and I think unless they are being mean to me to my face and they, straight out tell me that, oh, I don't like you because you're gay, then I will just go out assuming that they have no problem with it. I think that's how I go on in life, I think, dealing with this matter. Yeah, and you guys know me, right? I'm a very, deep down inside, I'm not that, happy-go-lucky, but externally, or how I present myself to the world, or at least I go out in life being very, very happy.
Bubbly.
Yeah, bubbly. Yeah, exactly. I think I might have missed a few instances where people would be homophobic. But now, if you ask me, have I ever, encountered any negative experience or any have anybody expressed any negative sentiments towards me about my sexuality? I can't think of anyone on top of my head. Even at work, I'm a very open gay man at work. We have two offices in Vietnam, right? One in Hanoi. I work in the Hanoi office and my boyfriend works in the Tamil City office. I think both offices, everybody knows about, us, and everybody is very supportive and very, open about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, at least in my face, I can't tell you if deep down inside, when I'm not there behind my back, they'd be like, hey, the man is scared you. But to my face, everything is still the same. Like, they treat me as nicely as they treat the people. So yeah.
Very, very fortunate.
I think so, yeah.
I'm grateful for that answer, because I realized halfway in your answer, had you encountered any colleagues who were like that, call them out.
Name and shame them.
No, the thing is,
from HR department.
Baker McKenzie. Okay, let me plug this in right here. Baker McKenzie globally as a firm has a very strong diversity and inclusion initiative.
Great.
I may be speaking out of my ass right now, but we have been consistently in the top 10 good places to work at globally for I think 10 or 7 years now. When it comes to, for LGBTQI employees, we have a very strong D&I presence in the sense that at least in Vietnam, I can't speak for other offices on this front. In Vietnam, we regularly sponsor Pride, which is the yearly event for the LGBTQI plus community. We attend a lot of talks and discussion and seminar on LGBTQI plus issue, held by UNDP and a lot of other institutions, IC, etc., ICS. We have a commitment to diversity and inclusion. We have I don't know if anybody's used it internally as any case being reported, but we have an internal channel to report, cases of, harassment or what's the word I can't think on top of my head? Discrimination. So yeah, Baker McKenzie as a workplace is great when it comes to...
Are you currently running for manager or something?
It's a secret.
No, but that's
supervisor, if you're listening to this, I'm not.
No, it's great to hear, and we'll dive deeper into Baker McKenzie and the legal industry later on in the podcast. But that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So, what part of being in the right environment allowed you to have those positive conversations? Because obviously, after secondary school, after grade 9 in Vietnam, you went off to the UK, didn't you?
No, I spent one more year in 10th grade. But again, I think it was very open about it.
Okay.
Looking back, oh my God, it's even a bit cringy how open I was. But I used to have this backpack shaped as a doll, and I carried it to school with me every day. And I think some parents reported to my mom about it. Yeah, but I don't think I've ever had any friends who came up to me and be like, "Hey, bro, this backpack is gay as hell. Hey, gay," things like that. Yeah, and then I've been very open about it. Again, I've never had to go up to any of my friends or colleagues and be like, "Hey, I'm gay." Like you guys as well, right? I never talk to any, obviously Long, right? I never say I'm gay, but you guys know, and you guys are. And we went on being friends and, being good friends, very naturally. So it's the same for me, in 10th grade as well. I went on and, like that, and I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of good friends back then. So yeah.
What allowed you to be like that? Because obviously for people who you interact with, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? You can be natural and that's fine. But let's say in that example that you gave, you wore that backpack, which the whole school can see, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's like you're having a banner on top of your head. But what empowered you to do that? Because I'm sure for some of the listeners who are listening in and they're going through the same journey, they wouldn't have the courage to do something like that.
Yeah. Oh, this is difficult. I don't know if I can say definitely what gave me that courage, that power to do all that and to live life as how I want to live it. This might sound cliche, but again, supportive friends. This has been said, no less than 10 times, over the past hour or so. But I think it's very important having supportive friends. You don't feel like you have to censor yourself around your friends. I think it's a very important aspect and a very important supporting pillar in that whole journey. Another thing for me is that, again, I'm a bubbly person. So I think I'm quite good at filtering out all that negative things, or at least it makes me oblivious to, let's say, passive aggressive, hostility. So unless they come out and say that thing to my face and be like, "Hey, I don't like you because you're gay," then I'm going to be able to tell if they don't like me because I'm gay. But then so far, though, I don't think that anybody expressed any hostility or any remote indication they don't like me or they hate me or anything. So I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I think it's important to have a supportive friends and being surrounded by supportive people will definitely help along with that.
So that's very fortunate. I mean, in my childhood, I cannot say the same. I mean, even though I'm not gay, to be honest, I was afraid that I was gay because these friends, well, not so friends, classmates that I had was just so mean. But very fortunate to you, so you didn't have to go through that. But what are the toughest challenges that you have to face as a gay person in Vietnam?
I think that would be the whole, for the lack of a better word, debacle with my dad. How to get him to, give me his blessings on this issue. I think that's the biggest issue, and it's the biggest concern that I've had for a very long time about this whole thing. I think I never really cared about how people or society view sexuality, because I know my friends like me, my friends love me all the same. So I can't really care about. You can't please everyone, right? You can't set out and try to please everyone. So if they don't like you for being gay, then tough. The best you can do is just to try to somehow change the perspective on being gay and to get them to accept that being gay is a normal thing, and you shouldn't hate a person because they're gay or straight. But if you can't change that about them, then tough luck. But you can't set out to try to please and try to care about how everybody perceives you, especially on issues such as homosexuality, right? So I think the biggest concern I have is with how people who are close to me, my close friends, my family, my loved ones, how they deal with the issue. So far with all my friends and etc., everybody's been great. But yeah, just with my dad, it's a little more complicated than that. So I think it's the biggest challenge I have to overcome. And I think this is in a sense, this is a very Vietnam specific issue, because how we, at least from my view, one of the reasons why this is such an issue is because how the Vietnamese traditional general and how men and how people are made to think that this is how roles and family and etc. has to be. And how very deeply interconnected family members are in Vietnam. So if, say, this is all hypothetical, but I often think, if, my family were an American family and, how do you see on the TV, right? Kids goes off and live their own life. And have any of you watched Modern Family?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and then things like that. And you just go on and have that, and you go adopt a kid, and then you get married, and then you tell your parents. More of a FYI kind of thing. You don't have to try to get your parents and your family's blessing on this. Maybe it would be a different thing. Maybe I wouldn't have this concern at all. Maybe I would still have, but to a much lesser extent. But I think it's because of how Vietnamese families are supposed to interact with each other, how interconnected we are. This is why this issue is even a more serious issue for me.
Would you have preferred to be an American then? To live in America or to live in any Western society where things are more accepted?
Right, that's interesting, because I personally don't think that it's more accepted in Western society, especially in America. I don't think it's that accepted at all. It depends on where you are. If you're in, say, San Francisco, in California, then it's in New York. But when you go to more conservative areas and states, and I don't think it's that accepted. From my perspective, I think Vietnam as a society, to an extent, is very accepting of LGBTQI community, in the sense that you are less likely to get assaulted. And you wouldn't feel threatened if you are gay, right? But I think my boyfriend, he grew up in America, and he's only been in Vietnam for 3 years. But I think he's very concerned about public display of affection. We are in public, because in his mind, there's a risk of you getting killed if you do that.
That's nuts.
I don't think I've ever felt that, because I think in Vietnam is generally quite a safe space for the LGBTQI community, in the sense that I think there's a less chance of you getting physically harmed or assaulted in Vietnam, in the West. Say in particular in America. Let's just say America for comparison. Let's just say America instead of the West. I think in Vietnam, the issue comes from getting your family to accept you. That's the biggest issue, because of how conservative most of the Vietnamese family are. And again, that traditional gender role thinking. Generally, if people are homophobic, the most they would do is snarky side comments and things like that. And they make fun, they joke about it. Not necessarily they want to bully you. I mean, I can't say that. Nobody has ever been bullied for being gay in Vietnam. I can't say that, and I don't think that that's true. But the bullying would be less severe than in America, at least how you see, in media, right? You read the news, people getting killed, and kids getting, bullied in school.
Am I right to say that in Vietnam, there's a sense of tolerance externally? So if someone is gay,
exactly.
without, outside of your family, your immediate family, there's tolerance. You might not accept it inside your mind, but you wouldn't do anything to them. But internally, within your family, if there is someone who's gay, then there's less tolerance.
Yeah, exactly. I have a friend, so he has like a lot of like gay cousins and lesbian cousins, and he himself is gay. So his parents are very accepting of the cousins, but they can never accept him for being gay.
Wow. That's
the most obvious example of supporting of what you just said here. So people in Vietnam, I think they are more they may not see it as a normal or usual ordinary thing, but maybe they don't like it for themselves or for their families, but they don't go out their way to like hate it. Right.
Okay, cool. That's great. I think it's a good time to end the first part of the podcast now. And in the second part of the podcast, we'll go much, much deeper and into much more granularity on the topic of LGBT, breaking down the different concepts, and also diving deeper into how we can educate the community and the population on this topic. Thank you everyone for listening in, and please be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Convo Comrades and join the community. Drop a question, drop a comment, and let us know what you think. As for now, bye-bye.